Hey guys, and welcome back. So in today's video, what we're going to be doing is talking about user registration and how to create an account on Django. Now, fortunately for us, Django actually does quite a bit of the hard work, at least for us. So all we have to do really is format a form and then just add a few things to our project. It is a bit of a tedious process, but it's much easier because of Django, and another reason why a lot of people love Django because it does stuff like this for you. Now you can see right now I have open the thing we're going to be creating. Now this is just in a copy of the project that I'm working on, and I just made this to make sure it was going to work. Create account page, and we're going to be making this to start. We'll be adding an email field to this as well, or like a add name or something like that field to this as well. And yeah, that's kind of all we're going to be doing today. In the next video, we'll talk about how to log in and how to log out, and then how to restrict access to certain parts of the website to certain users. So for example, the admin user can access the admin dashboard and they can see all of the different databases and all that, whereas a regular user won't be able to do that. So let's get started. Now the first step and what we're going to have to do this actually is create a new application. So what I want to do is, right now we already have an application called main, but I want to create an application now called like users or called register or something like that, that is going to handle the login, logout, and registration for our website. Now this is the reason I'm doing this is also so that you can just copy this application and put it into any other Django project, and because it just kind of makes sense to separate things out. So to do that, we're going to go to our command line and we're going to create a new app using that python manage.py file. So we're going to say python manage.py, and we're going to say start app, and in this case I'll just call mine register, like this. You can name yours whatever you want, but I'm just going to say register. So there we go, it has successfully executed, and now if we go to our directory, we can see that we have register popping up here. Now, what I'm going to do to start is I'm just going to, modify some URLs. So we're going to add a page that we'll be able to use to register, because we need a register page. So let's open up Sublime Text here. Let me just open up a new window. Why is this not working? 1 second, guys. File, open, folder. Here we are. Okay. So Django. Right there. Okay, so there we go. Now we're in Django, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the URLs from within my main file here so that we're going to link to a view that we're going to create inside of our new application called register. So if I go to URLs here, you can see that right now these are our main URLs that we have inside of our main application. But what I want to do is go to the URLs inside of my site. So let's do that here. And what I want to do is just add a new path that's going to direct to a new page. And in this case, I'm just going to call this one / create, I guess. Or actually not create. Let's do register. So like registering for a new account, we'll call it that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link this directly to the function that's going to render this from our register application. So what I'm going to do inside of register now, and I'll come back to this in a second, is inside of views.py, I'm simply going to create a function. In this case, I'm just going to say define, we'll call it register as well. It'll take response, and then in here, all we'll do is just return render, and then we will render something in here in a second, but we'll just fill that in for right now. So if we go back to URLs, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to import this file and this function so that we can use it from in here to link directly to that view. So to do that, I'm going to say from, and in this case, we'll do register because that's the name of our folder, register, import, in this case, views as, and I'm just going to say v. Now, the reason I'm saying views as v is because we could possibly be importing some more views into here, and all of them are going to be called views, right? Like the views for this application is the same as the name of the views for the main application. So just by doing it as something, that way we're going to differentiate them so we don't run into any mistakes, essentially. So now I'm going to say what we'll go to is we'll go to v dot, in this case, actually from register import views, we'll go to v dot register like that, and we'll say name equals, in this case, register. Now add that comma, and we should be good in terms of linking to that. Okay, so now that we've done that, what I want to do first of all is create an actual page that will be our register page, which involves creating a template for that. So I need to do the same process I did to create templates within my main application, and that is starting off by creating a new folder inside of our register application. And in this case, I'm just going to call it templates, templates like that. And then inside of templates, I'm going to create another new folder. And if we remember, we call this register. Now inside of register, I can create my file, which will be my register.html file, which will display the form that we're going to see. So I'm just going to start by extending my base template. And the way that we do this now, because this is in a different directory, is the exact same as before. We just have to specify where we're getting it from. So we're going to say main/base.html. And then what we're going to do in here is we'll do our blocks. So we'll have the block title and we'll have the block content. So block title, and in this case, we'll just say create an account or something like that. And then we can end that block, end block. And then now we'll do our block content. And then we will keep going from there. So say block content. And then here we'll say %% end block. Now we'll save this as register.html inside that template file. And there we go. We have now created the file that we can render and display on the screen. Now, while we're in here, I'm just going to fill this in and populate it. And all I'm going to do essentially to do this is use a little bit of style, a little bit of bootstrap styling, and then just display the form inside of here using the way that we can just display Django forms. And then you guys will see how it works in a second anyways. So let's start by creating some form tags. We'll say form. In this case, we're going to say method equals post, because this is going to be the form to create a new account. So obviously it's going to have to be a post method because we need to make sure that information is secure when we're sending it to the back end. Say form method equals post. I'm going to say class is equal to, in this case, form-group. And then we'll end that form tag. And in here, we will simply do, form like this. Now, the only other thing we need to add is a button. And this button will be the submit button because by default, Django doesn't generate that for us. So what we can do to do this is just say button. We can say type equals, if I didn't hit insert there, we can do type equals submit like that. And what else do we even need for this? We say class equals, and in this case, btn, and then btn-success. I believe that's the class name. And then we can end that button tag. And inside here, we'll just say, join, or like register, like that. And that's what we're gonna do for now. We'll make this look a little bit better after, but that's all we really need for right now. Okay, so now that we've done that, we've said, well, we're gonna pass a form to this view. So that means from inside here, we're gonna have to be passing a form. Now, what's really nice is Django actually automates the form for, logging in and creating a new account. It makes one for you that you can just use. So what I'm going to do is simply import the built-in Django form, and then we're just going to use it inside of here to pass to our register template. So the way that we do this is we have to, I'm actually just going to copy these in because they're a bit long and I don't want to mess up the spelling. We're going to say from django.contrib.auth, import login, import authenticate, and then we're also going to import from django.contrib.auth.forms, we're going to import user creation form. Now this user creation form is what we're going to use to create a new user, and this a pre-built form, just like when we went into our application and we created our own form using the Django built-in forms. This one's just already made for us, and we can go ahead and start using it right away. So to use this, I'm going to say form equals, and in this case, user creation form, and then when I render my template, I'll pass a response. We'll do, in this case, register, and in this case, /register.html. And for the context here, we'll pass in form:form. So assuming I spelt everything correctly, now if we actually run our server and go to this, we should see a form showing up. Actually, one step before that I should not have forgotten, but I almost did. We need to add our application, in this case, which is register, into our settings.py file. Because if you remember, when we initially created a new application, you can see that we added this main.apps.mainconfig. Well, we need to repeat this process now with our new application, which is register. So let's just copy this and paste it down here. And instead of having main, we're going to change this to just be register. And here, register as well. Remember that capital at the beginning. Okay, so now that we've done that, assuming I didn't make any mistakes, if we run the server, we should be all good and we should be able to see all this stuff. So let's do this now. We'll say python manage.py and in this case, run server. Okay, no issues. So let's grab that. Let's go. Actually, I'm just going to refresh this and it should pop up. And now you can see that we are actually getting this beautiful register window. Now I'm saying that sarcastically because obviously this does not look amazing. And we're going to work on styling this and making it look a little bit better in a second, but you can see that we actually have a somewhat functional user registration window already created for us. And you can see it says required 150 characters. This is the thing that you need for passwords. And then it asks you for username, password, and all this stuff. And then there's a register button that we created. So that's awesome. And that works well. Now, the thing is though, if we actually type anything in here, so for example, I say Tim, and make my password 12, it says, oh, your password cannot be entirely numeric, it must be at least 8 characters. Okay, let's just type, let's type a bunch of letters, for example. And if I type a bunch of other letters and hit register, we run into an error that CSRF token is missing. So we'll have to add that. But my point here was going to be that this register button doesn't actually do anything. Just like when we created a form before, we actually need to add the functionality to save the form and create the new user, which is what we will do now after we add that token that we need. So let's add that token first of all inside of here, CSRF underscore token. And now let's go into views.py and let's check how we can validate this form and how we can actually save things using it first of all before we start styling it too much. So what we're going to do is what we've done before. So we're going to say if response.method equals and in this case post, then that means that we are going to be creating a new user. So what we'll do in here is we'll start by saying, actually we'll take this form, we'll put it up here. And inside of here, we'll populate this with response.post. Now it will say if form.is, and I believe it's underscore valid. What we can do to save the form, which is very easy, is literally just say form.save. And what this is going to do is actually save our new user in the user's database for us. And I'll show you how this works in just a second. But let's add this else here so that we create a blank form if for some reason we're not getting that post request, right? So this is all we need to do actually to handle and make this form work. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot more here before we're finished, but this will actually allow us to have a valid form. So let us try to get this working now. So let me go back here and let me refresh the page. And now let's try to create an account. And let's make an account tech with Tim. We can just make the password tech with Tim 123. Okay, and let's hit register. All right, what was the issue? The two password fields did not match. Okay, so you can see actually as well, maybe that was good that I messed this up. It even gives you messages when things are wrong with the form. So it says the two password fields didn't match, so that obviously means I spelled something wrong. So let's try that again. And hit register. The password is too similar to the username. Oh man, see, this is why we use Django forms, because they do all this wonderful stuff for us. Okay, let's try this now. Tim with tech, how about that? Tim with tech 123. Tim with tech 123. Register. The password is too similar to the username. Okay, I'm just gonna use one of my own passwords and hopefully it doesn't show it anywhere on the screen. Okay, so now we've registered. And I actually created an account called Tech with Tim, and I've done that. I know it doesn't look like anything happened, but that's what we're gonna add as well next. When we create an account, we'll redirect to a new page. But let's try going to the admin dashboard here quickly and see if we can see this new user in our database. So let me sign in here, and if I go to users, you can see that now we actually have two users. We have Tim, which is the admin user, which is me, and we have Tech with Tim, which is the new user that was just created. So if I go into Tech with Tim, that's like the password hashing and stuff. And then you can see that it has the name, and that's all that we have for right now. So the next things that I want to add to this now is how we can get like an email, or how we can get a first name and a last name, for example, and how to redirect to a new page once we've created an account. So once we've created an account, what I'd like to do is redirect to a new page. So to do that, what I'm going to do is from Django.shortcuts, import render, import redirect. And all we'll do in here is just, instead of returning this response, we'll simply just return a redirect. So we'll return redirect. And in this case, where will we go? We will just go to /home. So now if I create a new user, we would go to the home page and the user would be created. So that's great for that. But what I want to do now is have the ability to add a new field to our form. So for right now, all we had was those 3 fields, but what if when you create a new user, you want to ask a ton of different questions, like a phone number, you want to get all that kind of stuff. How can we do that? Well, to do that, what we need to do is inside of our application here, I believe we need to create a new file called forms.py. So what we're going to do is inside of register, we're going to do new file. We're going to save this as forms.py, and we're just going to modify our form slightly. So save that as, is there an issue, this reason why this isn't working? Forms.py, hit enter, okay. I'm very confused right now why this is not working. Forms. Okay, anyways, let's try this one more time. Okay, so for some reason that was just messing up, but anyways, forms.py. And what we're gonna do for this now is actually import these same things that we had before. So this login, authenticate, user creation form. So let's copy those and paste those in here. And what I'm gonna do now is just create a class that inherits from user creation form and add a few new fields to it. So to do that, I'm going to say class, and in this case, I'll just do register form, and we'll inherit from user creation form. And that means we're going to get all of the same properties as user creation form. So we're going to have that nice layout as well, but instead now we'll add a few new attributes. So for example, if I wanted to add an email here, what I could do is I could say email equals, and in this case, models, which I need to import as well. So let me import this. So we're going to say from Django.models, I believe import model. It's either models or models. Anyways, so let's do that. Email equals models dot, and in this case, we'll say email field like that. And this might be lowercase, I'm not sure. Okay, so we'll do email field there. And now what we're going to do is add something that we haven't done before, which will allow us to change some of the parent properties of this class. So I'm going to create a new class inside of this class, which is called meta. Now it needs to be named this. And what I'm going to do in here is define the fact that this register form is going to save into the user's database. So you know how when we did user creation form.save, it saved the form? Well, we need to say that when we're using this form, we need to save in the user database. So to do that, I need to import a few other things. So 1 second here. What I'm going to do is just go to, I'm going to say from Django dot contrib dot auth dot models, and in this case, import user. And actually, I need to change this Django.models thing up here because this is incorrect. I'm going to say from Django import forms, and instead of models, this is going to be forms. My bad on that. So we'll say email equals forms.email field. And then inside of this meta class, what I'm going to do is say model is equal to, in this case, user. So I'm defining that we are going to change the user model whenever we save something in this, this form. So now I'm also going to define one more property, which is going to be fields. Now what this fields property is going to do is pretty much lay out where I want my fields to be. So typically when you sign up, you ask to do a username, an email, a password, and the other password. Well, right now, if I were to actually use this form, this email field wouldn't be showing up. And that's because inside of the parent class, it doesn't know that we have this email field. So I have to define that. So to do this, what I do is I simply type the name of the fields inside of this list in the order that I want them to appear in my form. So if I wanted email to show up first, I would type email. If I wanted a username to type up first, I would type username. So in this case, let's do username, email, and then we'll do password 1 and password 2. Now these 3 field names, username, password 1, and password 2, are already built into the form. So this user creation form, that's why I'm using them. If we were to per se create another field here, maybe we would create a field that was like your gender or something like that, then we would have to put that field in here as well if we wanted to show up on the form, and this will specify in what order we want things to show up. So that's how you can change that as well. So now that we've done that, we need to now start using this register form rather than using this user creation form. So if I go in my views.py file now, I can actually remove this. And what I'm going to say is from, and in this case, we can just import it directly from forms. So we'll say from forms import, and in this case, we'll do, I guess it was register form like that. And now rather than using user creation form, we'll use register form like this, and this should be working for us, assuming I did not make any mistakes. So register form. So now let's try to reload the page and see what we're getting on, what do you call it? Let me make sure that this actually is running quickly. Is it seeing that we changed anything? 1 second, guys. No module named forms. Interesting. I have forms.py right here. Let's try from.forms and see if this works. There we go. So I just need to add that dot before forms. Okay, so let's go now back to, what was it? Register, like this, and see what we get now. Okay, so now we have username, email, password, and password confirmation. Now I know this is still very messy, but we have successfully added an email field. So now it's time to actually make this look a little bit nicer using a little bit of Bootstrap and what's known as Crispy Forms. So Crispy Forms is a really popular form kind of framework used in Django, and you just have to install it using pip. So what I'm going to do is simply go into my command line here and do pip install, and we're going to say Django -crispy -forms like that. So not equal sign, that needs to be a hyphen. And what this does is it has some automatic styling for our forms that's really easy to use. So that's what this module is essentially. So we're just going to pip install that same way that we installed Django, and just make sure that it's in your virtual environment. Now you can see I already have it installed, but once you have it installed, there's a few steps we have to actually use this. So to use Crispy Forms, what we need to do first of all is go into our My Site settings file. So we need to find my site, and go to settings.py, and we have to add Crispy Forms into this settings.py file. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to say crispy, I think it's just crispy_forms. I'm pretty sure that's all we have to do, but I will double check here because I'm likely incorrect. Let's see here. Nope, that's actually correct. So crispy_forms. And what we also have to do is go down to the bottom of our settings.py file, and we have to define what CSS layout, or I don't know, framework that our Crispy Forms is actually going to use. So to do this, I'm going to say crispy, and in this case, _template _pack. And in this case, I'm going to say bootstrap 4. Now, if you want your Crispy Forms to use a different kind of framework, CSS framework, you can just look up how to do that online. It's very simple, but you just change this. The reason I'm setting this to Bootstrap 4 is because by default, it uses Bootstrap 2. And on our website, we're already using Bootstrap 4, so we might as well just use it now. Okay, so now that we've done that, we actually have to start using these Crispy Forms. That's what they're called. So since we have them imported into the project and we have everything set up, all we have to do to use our Crispy Forms is at the beginning of our, file here. It actually doesn't have to be at the beginning, but it just has to be before where we use it. What we're going to do is we're going to use our Crispy Forms. So I believe to do this, we have to say include something. I have to have a look because I forget how to do it. It's not include, it's load. So load crispy _forms like this, and in this case _tags. Now all we're gonna do to use this Crispy Form, very straightforward, is we're just gonna put this little up straight line here, bar, I don't know what it's actually called. If someone knows, comment down below. And beside it, we're just gonna do crispy like that. Now what this does is it's actually a filter. And I'm not really going to talk about exactly what filters are, but if you know what a filter is, then that's what this is doing. It's just going to modify our form to make it look a little bit nicer and add a bit of styling to it. So let's try this now and see if everything is actually working. So let me run the server, see if we get any issues or not. No, we don't. So now let's refresh this and let's see the drastic change that is about to happen. There we go. How much nicer does that look than our other form, right? We have username, email, password, and password confirmation. That is just much better. And you can see if I go register, it's still doing this. So that is essentially how we create a register form for our users to create new users. Now, right now, it'd probably be a good idea to add like a bar on the side to do register and all whatnot. But for now, we're just going to leave it at this. In the next video, what we'll do is talk about logging in using these users and all that kind of stuff. We might add a little bit more to this register page, but for now, I think that's fine. And with that being said, that's going to be the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you again in another one.